Imagine heaven and hell as rival corporations. Heaven Incorporated, ancient, untouchable, run by an immortal CEO who has never once answered a feedback form. Its workforce is angels, efficient, loyal, and probably not allowed to complain about the dress code. Then there is Hell Incorporated, founded by Heaven's most famous former employee. Its entire business model: make humans miserable enough to inconvenience God. Not exactly a mission statement you hang in the lobby, but here we are. Spoiler, there is no official demon universe. There are just a few thousand years of religious texts, folklore, magical manuals, paintings, poems, horror movies, games, anime, and fan wikis all loudly disagreeing with each other. So when somebody says this is what demons actually are, the correct answer is according to which century. In many Christian traditions, demons do not need armies, lasers, or a flaming castle. Their whole strategy is temptation, one terrible idea that sounds reasonable for about 5 seconds. Text your ex, they're definitely thinking about you. You don't need to study, you're naturally gifted. Just buy the coin. It has a dog on it. That is a good sign. And that is basically the job description. Early religious texts did not give every demon a profile page, a special ability, and a collectible card design. They were scary, mysterious, important. Then the medieval period showed up, and suddenly demons had lore. In demonology manuals, they gained names, titles, animal forms, specialties, symbols, and enough backstory to fill a fantasy wiki. Hell stopped being just a place of punishment. It became a franchise. One of its biggest stars is Lucifer. Today, Lucifer, Satan, and the devil often get treated as the same guy. Same horns, same throne, same voice that somehow sounds British, even though nobody has explained where hell is located. Historically though, it is more complicated. Lucifer is Latin for light bringer, a word used for Venus, the bright morning star visible before sunrise. In the Latin version of Isaiah, the word appears in a taunt aimed at Babylon's king. Later Christian interpretation connected that image to Satan's fall from heaven. So the devil most people picture today was not handed down in one complete package. He was assembled over centuries through art, translation, theology, and people refusing to leave a dramatic idea alone. Then there was Johann Weyer. Weyer was a 16th century physician writing during the witch trials. His main work argued against persecuting people accused of witchcraft, but an appendix that later circulated on its own listed demons by name, rank, and supposed powers. Kings, dukes, marquises. Hell apparently had titles. Weyer was not making an official guide to summoning demons, but history took that demon list, passed it around, expanded it, and helped turn it into fuel for later occult manuals. Fantasy writers, game designers, and every lore fan asking, okay, but which one is strongest? He challenged Witch Trial Panic and accidentally left future demon fans a starter pack. Then came a demon catalog traditionally linked to King Solomon. It lists 72 demons, each with a name, rank, appearance, specialty, and summoning symbol. Baal, Paimon, Astaroth, Asmodeus, Barbatos, Andrus. If you play fantasy games, watch anime, read manga, or have ever entered a wiki and lost 40 minutes of your life, some of those names probably sound familiar, because this stuff does not read like ordinary theology. It reads like a strategy guide, a medieval monster encyclopedia, a demon Pokedex, a Dungeons and Dragons sourcebook, an SCP entry, except nobody is containing anything, and the situation has been getting worse since the Bronze Age. Take Paimon. In some demonology manuals, Paimon arrives like royalty, commands other spirits, and offers knowledge, which explains why that name keeps showing up in games and horror stories. A demon enters dramatically, offers you exactly what you need, and is already lying about it. Then there is Baal, who can take different forms depending on the text: human, animal, or something in between. That is the basic appeal. Angels bring messages, demons bring offers, secret knowledge, hidden treasure, power, influence, the kind of career advancement your local monastery was not equipped to provide. A demon does not just represent evil, a demon represents temptation with a sales pitch. I can give you exactly what you want. Here are the terms and conditions. You should probably read them, you won't. Now, think of the devil: horns, red skin, hooves, pitchfork, maybe fire, in case the audience somehow misses the point. That is the logo of evil, but the familiar devil design is not ancient. A 6th century mosaic in Ravenna, often discussed as an early devil image, shows a blue angel-like figure beside a group of goats. No red skin, no horns, no pitchfork. The devil's Halloween costume had not been invented yet. So where did the goat legs and horns come from? One major visual influence scholars point to is Pan, the Greek god of the wild. Pan had goat legs, curved horns, and a deep commitment to forests, music, animals, and generally being a lot. He was not originally the ruler of hell. He was more like the strange forest guy who appears uninvited, plays music too loudly, and never leaves. But when later Christian artists needed a visual shortcut for something wild, animal-like, and unheavenly, that goat man silhouette was already there. Pan did not wind up in hell. His silhouette did. Over time, artists kept upgrading the design. More horns, more wings, more claws, more fire. Eventually, the devil looked less like a fallen angel and more like a final boss. So hell had a look. What it still needed was personality. That is where John Milton comes in. In 1667, Milton published Paradise Lost, an enormous poem about heaven, hell, Adam and Eve, rebellion, temptation, and one very bad decision involving fruit. For our purposes, here is what matters. Milton gave Satan a voice, not just evil, an argument, a point of view, a speech. Milton's Satan is not secretly a good guy. He is proud, manipulative, and destructive. He is not the hero of the poem, Tay's beat. He is the warning inside it, but Milton also made him hard to ignore. Satan has speeches, arguments, and the kind of confidence that makes you briefly forget he doomed humanity because he could not handle being told no. Then he says, better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. Terrible life philosophy. Great line. Now demons can be villains, tragic heroes, handsome rivals, suspicious mentors, final bosses, comic relief, the brooding love interest, or the person who gives you a side quest and absolutely betrays you later. They can be terrifying, seductive, funny, tragic, or all four at once. They can represent temptation, forbidden knowledge, rebellion, corruption, or just excellent character design. Meanwhile, angels have a branding problem. Perfect characters are harder to write. Demons are flawed, dramatic, dangerous, usually better dressed. They have motives, they have backstories, and they will explain both at length whether you asked or not. Maybe that is why we keep coming back to them. A character who wants what they should not have, makes choices they cannot undo, and has an elaborate explanation for why none of it was their fault. That sounds less like a supernatural monster, and more like a person having a Tuesday. Hell Inc. did not build its brand overnight. It had 5,000 years, exceptional character design, and one very good speech.